Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I don't really need this right now, do I? I'm here. We're going to make some basic videos and kind of talk you through doing some of those basic skills like reading logs or going over and figuring out, what your talent builds could be and stuff like that. And I kind of want to do this because I know that you could be a heroic raider and you don't know how to actually read a log. You know how to see your parse percentage, but you don't know how to see that moment where you kind of screw up. So we're probably going to go over some of those, and I'm really excited to take you on this journey. So without further ado, let's first get into it. Let's talk about the new profession system. And let's talk about how work orders kind of function. So as you can see, I am on my scribe, enchanting scribe. And we go over here. We've got our basic recipes, right? This is all the stuff we've learned, all the stuff we haven't learned, right? I have not learned the chest enchant, which is extremely useful. But you might be able to see that even though I haven't learned it, I still have the ability to make it a 2-star minimum. Now, along with that, you can also see that the skill reads 205 when my actual skill is only 84, and the recipe difficulty is 400, which is crazy, right? The bracer enchants too. So you might be wondering, hey, how does that skill level work? So that's going to bring us over here into enchantment specializations, right? So for example, we're going to go into enchantment. This is how we craft things like the bracer enchants, the regular enchants. This is how we unlock reserve of intellect. We need 20 points in a magical reinforcement. We currently have 0. You get knowledge a multitude of ways, be it crafting an item for the first time, getting drops from chests and dirt, which I highly suggest going and getting because it's very lucrative to get this stuff out there. 3-star enchants, they probably don't sell for a lot now, but they're still very useful to have. The difference between a 2-star and a 3-star is insane. If I can actually find one. Right? Okay, so Devotion of Avoidance. It has a chance to proc. This increases your avoidance by 150. Right? That's 1 star. 2-star is 175. So yeah, that's only 25 more. But as you can see, that's like 0.3%, right? But that stuff stacks up. So we'll go to enchanting. Now, you might see that I have Sophic enchants completely. That's Sophic Devotion. This is the best weapon enchant in the game. It's one reason why I aimed for it. Now, along with Sophic, I've also got 30 out of the Primal for 50. So this increases the skill level by 1 skill per point in that spec. So it's an extra 30 skill. Then you go over here to enchantment. Again, it's plus 1 skill. So if we're looking at our base skill of 84 plus 6, so we're actually looking at like 90 because we do have the plus 6 enchanting skill on Rune Draconium Rod. And then we go down and we hit Sophic Devotion. You're going to see that our skill's actually reading 215. So it's 84 plus 131 from our specializations. Well, we can see from here that we actually get 30, 30, and 10. And then we actually get 30. So that'd be 90. That'd be 110. So that would be... No, we get 84 plus 31. 131. I don't know how we get 131. But we get 131. Plus 1 skill point. I don't know. We'll probably be able to check that out. But anyways, that's how you raise it. That's how you get something like Sophic Devotion to a minimum of 2. Now, you might think, I want to upgrade that even more. If you have enough points in it, you can actually add Illustrious Insight. Illustrious Insight will increase that skill by another 30 points. Right? And why that might be useful, even if you can't get 2-3 with that Illustrious Insight, there is a thing called Inspiration. Now, Inspiration adds 142 bonus skill. So, if we look at it, we need to reach a skill of 425, right? So, we have the Illustrious Insight. Illustrious Insight gives us a total skill of 245. We then add the 142. That doesn't kick us up to where we will be able to get an Inspiration 3-star. So it's always better to kind of save that Illustrious Insight until you get around halfway. Now, as you can see, we also have Earthen Devotion. However, due to the fact that we don't have a lot of knowledge placed into the earthen part of the primal section here, we don't have a lot of extra skill. So Earthen Devotion, it's not guaranteed, to be a 2-star, but you don't really have to rely on that 13% inspiration to proc it 2-star. You just normally you'd be worrying about materials and their quality. However, due to the fact that enchanting items have no quality in our materials, this is just flat skill. Now you also go over and you'll see this first craft. All it will do is it will give you some of this artisan metal, and it will also give you a point of knowledge. So the idea that what most people want to do is they want to craft the everything at least once. I don't know why I haven't crafted Earthen Writ. Yeah, I thought I crafted everything at least once. But you've got all these things, right? I don't use a Wraithbark wand or anything like that. I don't like the spectacles or anything like that. But that is what I use to kind of get up there in terms of knowledge. Like I said, there's plenty of different ways to get knowledge, and as you can see, here are these qualities, right? These qualities sitting over here. I've got some maximum quality blacksmithing accessories. That's going to be based on the work orders. We'll get into those. These are the raw materials. As you can see, I have some 1-star Wraithbark, I have some 3-star Gem Dust, some 1 and 2-star gems, 2-star diamond, stuff like that. And we kind of want to get into that later because we also have ink and a chilled rune, and we'll definitely get into this more so with inscription. So as you can see, inscription, serene ink, it's not guaranteed a 2-star, but we have an 8% chance of inspiration. We also have this thing called multi-craft. Multi-craft is amazing. Now, we want to look at serene ink. What do we need for serene ink? We need shimmering pigment. So we go to milling. Now we only have these 1-stars. Now, while we're milling it, as you can see, we still have inspiration, we have crafting speed, resourcefulness, which we'll be using less, and then that can give us something with more, right? Like, if we look over here, we have blazing ink. I don't think I have any of my wonderful stuff, right? So we could have some of these at 2-star. They actually add a decent amount. So you want to get this really high up so you can pop this. If we go over to Chilled Rune, again, as you can see, the recipe difficulty is 260. If we go down to Inspiration, it's a chance of crafting it with an 87% bonus skill. We go over here into specializations. You might see that I have a lot of inscription knowledge. And it's like, oh, well, you can just go over into rune binding and pop it up. Well, kind of. So if we go over here, and I'm looking at fauna runes. Now, what are fauna runes? Well, shield runes has a lot of uses, but mainly over here in the sense of buzzing runes and chirping runes and howling runes. These are things that augment your weapons. They increase a stat or increase your healing. And I've unlocked the ability to add everything. So we've got lesser insight. So that kicks it up to 215. We have that 13% or 12.5% chance to add on an extra 100% bonus skill. So what this means is that roughly 1 out of every 10 sets of Howling Runes is gonna proc up to 3-star. Now you might be like, how do we increase this? So we're gonna check this out, right? If we go over, I kind of want to make sure that you guys can see this. So Chirping Rune, we got 185 skill. Go over here, apply 1 knowledge. Did that change our skill? No, it did not. Now you might say that's not really fair, right? I mean, is 3-star going to guarantee it? No, it might not. But we've also got something like archiving. It's 1+1 skill point. Then you go over into rune mastery. Improve at the art and using better reagents. I'm sorry, I can't really talk. This just gives more inspiration. This gives more skill, and it's up to 40. So we get 40 more skill. Now what's 40 more skill on these runes? 40 more skill will kick us up to 225, right? Then you kick in the extra illustrious insight. We're sitting at 255. We are well within inspiration range to proc 5, and we're still dealing with only that 1. What about chilled rune? Well, if we get 3-star, that'll kick us up to 2 guaranteed. So it's kind of relative, but this is how you do it. Now, you might be wondering about crafting orders. I can't access crafting orders unless I am at the profession table. So for scribes, it's a scribe table. Enchanters, it's an enchanting thing. So we'll go over here, click on this. We'll go over to the crafting orders. Now, these are all the things that people can make crafting orders for. They can make crafting orders for these treatises, which is 1 point of knowledge for free per week. It can be any of this equipment. As you can see, this equipment does give me 3 skill ups. So essentially free skill up. These are missives. You can only do 20 public orders. You can do infinite guild orders and infinite personal orders. Now, if you are wanting to, say, request an order, there's a couple ways to do that. So you can start a recrafting order. For example, maybe I want to recraft my elemental lariat. This is everything that's already in the elemental lariat. I can maybe take that off. You know, maybe replace it, right? Maybe I don't want to replace it. But then you need to provide artisan's metal, shimmering clad. You need to provide some of what you already provided. Now we could do a personal order, and we can choose to not provide some of the, like any of these items. We don't have to provide any of these, right? But if we go into a guild order, then we do need to require them, right? Now, how do we do public orders? Well, in order to do public orders, you need to do something like this. Right? And as you can see, you can't choose to give them the main items. So this Torch of Primal Awakening, I need to give them all of the materials. And this is actually a very expensive thing to craft. Holy cow. Compared to this is really cheap to craft. Now, you might be thinking, where do I get the stuff to do this? Spark of Ingenuity comes from a quest line that pretty much everyone goes through. You get it every other week. I think we've got 4 available right now, so if you want to craft a 5th, that's coming out. Then Primal Chaos. You get Primal Chaos from raid bosses, mythic dungeons, mythic plus dungeons, some world quests, the world boss, the weekly stuff. You get this a lot. So if you're a raider, you'll definitely have about as much as I do. Now, the Primal Chaos does have another use, right? It has another use, and we're about to get into that. But as you can see, we can customize the secondary stats of this item. We can also add something like, hey, increases the duration of well fed. Oh, hey, does more. As you can see, it does add the difficulty, which we already went through. And you might be like, okay, well, it's a 382 item. What's so special about that? Primal Infusion will then kick it up to a base 395. So that is a 13 item level difference, which in itself isn't too, needed, too unique, but it's still there. And then you can add the embellishment that does something like extra physical damage, and this is going to be your main way to kind of catch up on heroic stuff, on heroic gear. And you might be like, well, heroic raiders are going to get this. How do they get this? Those don't drop from bosses. Instead, we get the same thing that drops from Mythic Plus dungeons. We get these primal focuses, and it takes 10 of them. You get one per boss and one per Mythic Plus dungeon that is 11 to 15, I believe. And then you combine 10 of them with 100 Primal Chaos to create an infusion. Now there's something else that we can look at, right? So we'll go into the longsword. Now there's another one. Now instead of just 30, this is 50, but it's 408 base. And this is what you would get from mythic raid bosses or 16 to 20 dungeons. This is the high level gear. This is the stuff that you really push for, and you have to do a lot. You have to combine it probably with more than just 100 Primal Chaos. But that is how you get really good gear. That is the main way to get really good gear. As you can see, I have my Elemental Lariat, but it's only 392. It's already embellished. I already have 2 embellished items. And it's, I could add the Primal Infusion to craft at a higher item level, which I might do. I've got a 405, which is the highest quality. It procced it based from that dude. It shows you who made it. So what would I do with crafted gear? Considering next week we get the Inspiration Catalyst, and the Inspiration Catalyst is really useful. The only thing that I could really craft different ones of would be trinkets, which I already have a new trinket. This is probably one of the better trinkets that I possibly have, because you can get pretty close to an extra 768 versatility, which that's pretty strong. It's over 7%, I believe. Maybe, yeah, say, 3.5%. Or what I'm going to do with my Spark next week, I'm going to use it on a ring. I'm going to use it to replace this Blaze ring. Now you might think, oh, well, why would you replace a ring? 389, it's a high item level, it's giving you that stamina. I would replace this ring simply because of the stats on it. Right, so if we go, and we can already kind of look at what kind of ring we're going to get. We're going to go to Armor, Miscellaneous Finger, and we've got a couple that we can make, right? A couple that we can make at the item level that we want. We can go for Hourglass. Hourglass is not an embellished item, but it does give you an extra thing. As you can see, I'm just missing a couple Silken Dust and 1 Spark of Ingenuity. Its base stats are 438 of each, so that's an extra 438 versatility that I will get, and it's slightly less crit. But what if we infuse it with power? That kicks it up to 395. That's 494 compared to 438. Right? So if we're looking, it's less of a loss in crit, a much bigger jump in versatility, And that's a much bigger jump in stamina as well. As long, it also has a socket. Now, it is unique equipped, so I couldn't make a second one, which kind of sucks. But that's fine, because we have Signet of Titanic Insight. What if I want armor? What other armor would there be? Right, like let's look at wrist for leather. I need to be careful. I can't wear any of the embellished ones. I would probably go. Ooh. As a tinker socket, I would probably go with this guy. I could add an embellishment. One embellishment that does not count towards the embellishment restriction is the alchemical flavor packet, which is essentially it turns your food buff into a 1 hour food buff that does not expire upon death. It is very powerful. That is why it is such an expensive item on the auction house. You know, I could add all the other embellishments, but I've already got one. So there's that. I could customize the secondary stats, and again, I could infuse it with power, which would kick it up to 395 base. I've already got a 398. The stats aren't perfect, but they're not bad. Now, my point with telling you all this is the work order system. This is the work order system. It's kind of the base of the profession system. You would have to go here to create the work orders. You post the work orders, they last 24 to 48 hours, and then if someone crafts it, hey, cool, you get it in the mail. If someone doesn't craft it, hey, you know, you're kind of screwed up. Now, if you are someone who has any kind of profession, you're going to get a quest from this dude asking to do work orders. And as you could see earlier, work orders aren't really that abundant. You're also going to get quests from these guys and quests from your profession dudes. So you'll get a quest from the enchanter guy, a quest from the alchemy guy, a quest from the inscription guy, even a quest from your gatherers. So one way that people are getting around the whole lack of work orders is using their alts. Because if you have a capped character, you can essentially just hop on an alt, hop on your dragon, and come back, right? That's how you do it. That's okay. That is the quickest and easiest way. If you post a work order to somebody, it does take gold. You have to give a minimum tip. If you're just doing it for an alt, 1 gold works. I need to go here because I just got something. Oh no, I need to do this, don't I? Hang on. There we go. I got that tonight. I'm happy with that. I'm probably not going to write it because I prefer this little guy. But that is the work order system. I kind of wanted to have that pointed out, and if there are any more questions that you possibly have, feel free to tell me. I kind of want to go more in depth in a lot of these things. We will be going over things like how to read logs, you know, applying for a guild, how to maximize your rotation, some places that you could go to learn more about your class and or spec beyond simply going to Wowhead, because Wowhead isn't really the best. This is a very long video. I thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.